Welcome to this panel. My name is Sölve, and I'm head of education and media literacy at TENK, which is the media literacy department at faktisk.no. I'm together here with two of my colleagues to other projects, and we are going to present for you how we work in Norway to include youth into public discourse. And first of all, it's important for me to say that this is no silver bullet. It is cooperations together with different initiatives, and these are some of the examples we will bring forward to you. Faktisk was a fact-checking organization established in Norway in 2017. And shortly after that, we saw there was a huge need in schools to have media literacy. And those who were working with fact-checking was journalists. And we saw the need of being more connected to schools as well. So all who works in TENK, which is the department I'm head of, are teachers. So we know how to talk to kids and young people, and we see the need of connecting media outlets and media information to the classroom as well. So we started in 2019 with TENK, developing learning resources and connected to the curriculum in Norway. And we are really close connected to news that is published all day. We know that from at my age, we started with this editorial media, which was usually, but we see more and more today that we have those social media, and the information is coming rapidly to young people, and often it's really short, and it's maybe not that balanced as media could be. And the challenge is to show young people that when you're on TikTok or other social media, you need to know the rules, what is happening there.
Is about this small.
This huh?
We look at that video again.
So in 3 seconds, your attention should be caught, and then in 30 seconds, everything should be explained. That could be hard, and often young people have the challenge to see the nuances in there and trying to find the differences between it. And sometimes it could also be the way that they believe that, okay, no, I know everything. We also see that a lot of young people have a hard time finding the source of the information. Many times it could be that way that they just don't know that they have been watching news or watching information. We also see on other social media, for example Snapchat here, that different sources are connected. And then you don't know what kind of sources you are using, and you can't tell the difference from them. That you might have some sources that could be reliable, but other sources that might have an interest behind the information. What we saw in Norway, what is happening more and more, is that young people, they are using social media. This graph shows what kind of social media they are using, and what we see is that the feed is getting more and more visual. It's not text the way it used to be. In that way, it's not that easy to fact check it, and often it's not right or wrong, it's more that you need to know the narrative behind it. And also what we see is that a lot of young people also get their news from social media as well. So in that way, we have to understand that we cannot go with a pointing finger and tell young people, you need to stay away from social media. We need to educate them so they understand the rules where they are meeting the information. This is an example just before the war started in the Middle East after the 7th of October attacks, and we saw a lot of videos sharing this, saying that the war has started, that Israel has invaded Gaza. But this was videos that were shared online, and it was actually a couple of years ago. But in social media, you don't see this, and for a lot of people that are sharing this, they don't know that this is old videos. In this way, you need to talk with young people and tell them, okay, where do you get your information from? Also, when you're talking about social media, and you need to understand that there's different accounts you have to check. Then you can tell what kind of information it is and if it is reliable. We know that feelings are really strong in the news landscape we see today. This was one of the first photos that was published in Norway after that Russian invasion in 2022. It was this lady who stands in front of her house telling that the Russian has bombed her. Soon after, this poster posted on X asking, could this be really true? This woman was bombed back in 2018 as well. It was really strange. She was a drama teacher, someone says. Maybe she's an influencer. And this way of making questions towards news and information is really effective. And it could be hard for young people to understand if this is true or not. And then you end up that nothing can be true. And then you're really vulnerable for this and misinformation. But it's not only war that can be a challenge. This one is a video from the Met Gala last year showing what is going on in New York, where all the celebrities were gathered to show some trends.
Shopping moments from the 2024 Met Gala. The Challenger's actress first hit the carpet in this black and blue striped gown by Maison Margiela. The look totally nailed the Garden of Time theme with its grapes, feathers, and hummingbird accents.
So besides, it's really clear that she might have some back problems. You can see the tone, you see how it looks like. And then you don't hassle at all when you see these pictures showing Selena Gomez wearing this dress or Rihanna wearing this one. Although I've been growing up in northern part of Norway, so if she go out in this dress in the sea, she would probably get like far away up in the ocean. But anyway, and this dress also totally nailed the carpet as well. But none of them were at the Met Gala. These are all pictures created by AI, and young people don't understand this. And we know that among young people and on social media, click and sharings are as money. We have to remember this one, and often we forget that we need also to address those challenges that young people meet, not only 45 white men. This video was shared showing, this was before that they have shared what kind of support they have in political opinions in the US. It is also edited by AI. But young people don't know how to do this, so we need to show them the tools. How can we verify pictures and videos when you don't know if it's true or not? That's why we are traveling around to schools in Norway, also sharing lesson plans online, learning them how to do reverse image search. This is quite easy to do, but if you haven't heard of it, you can't do it. And this way you can maneuver the information landscape and find the correct video and know the context it's made in. So then you know how to get the correct information, because a vital part of having free speech is getting the correct information. And if you should get the correct information, you need to have the tools. And then you can find that this is the original video, how it was made. She didn't have a Trump banner at all. But when we're talking about AI, it's not only the pictures and the video, it's also the AI bots. And for young people, we know that it's easy to open yourself to a bot, because that's not a person that makes you embarrassed. The problem is who is listening on the other side. And even though you know they are AI, you kind of forget that. So when all your friends on Snapchat has gone to bed and you're sharing all your inner thoughts, that will be shared and remembered forever. And what will happen the next time you have troubles and your information is shared for someone who wants to make money on your feelings? What we do in Tank is we are creating lesson plans that is answering to the news as it happens. So after the Ukraine war started in 2022, we were with lesson plans 3 days after the invasion. We also address social trends on social media, like this, what I eat in a day. We also created lesson plans to those as well, because those trends might be challenging for young people when they don't know what is behind a trend and how does it work. We also need to build knowledge about, for example, AI. This is a package where we learn young people how they can, what is behind AI, because there's a lot of young people in Norway that are using AI for schoolwork, for different tasks they're doing in their everyday life. But what's behind and how it works, they don't know, because we haven't created stuff yet. And we say, okay, when everything is done, we will create something. So we need to create stuff that might lose the date sooner or later, but we need to go out there and show them the AI pictures, the AI movies, and so on. We also work with librarians as well. This is Quest for the Truth, it's called, and it's traveling around to libraries in Norway. We at Tank, we can change the examples on those screens So all the time, this is an updated exhibition that librarians can invite young people to the library and show, okay, here you can learn the last news, here you can learn some new techniques. Those stations have like reverse image search, how to spot AI, how to understand algorithms, and so on. Because we have to remember, there's only we can't be the only one who's sharing this information. We need to build an alliance together with others, like librarians, like social workers, teachers, and so on. So all the time we are sharing, and also we are cooperating with different other projects in the media. Here is a workshop with the teachers at the school in Norway, and all the time we are publishing lesson plans on our website, tenk.faktisk.no, and we are also having visitors from schools, teachers, and so on at our office in Oslo. And we also have our TikTok account where we share knowledge so young people can reach us straight through their social media, because there needs to be adults in the room. And we know by research that young people want adults to be with them, not as a surveillance, but more as like a talking partner. And you don't need to actually be a really cool TikTok teacher. You need to open the conversation and share your knowledge, so then you can meet the young ones. Because we have to remember, if there's a Home Alone party, everyone know how it looks like when we come home.
My name is Katarina, and I used to be an influencer. I started posting TikTok videos and YouTube videos during the pandemic, and my audience quickly grew to a bit more than 100,000 people. I posted fun fact videos in Norwegian every single week. And I spent a lot of time working out how to adapt my content to the TikTok algorithm to maximize my likes, my views, and my shares. Today, I am a journalist and I work in the NRK, the Norwegian national broadcaster. And I work with I work in the news department, and I make explainer videos for young adults. And in my current role, I often reflect on how I shaped my content to fit the algorithm when I was an influencer. Because when we talk about social media today, we quickly arrive at the topic of polarization. Extreme views get the most engagement on social media. Creators who shock us or entertain us or scare us or surprise us, they get the most views. And maybe that's because the algorithms that are designed to give the users what they want actually end up making creators more extreme in their presentation or in their views or in the way they express themselves or even in their beliefs. When I was making content on TikTok, I quickly realized that I had to amplify and exaggerate my facial expressions, for example, to get more views. And I got more views if I presented my content in a more shocking way or a more sensational way than I would normally do. So my online persona became a sort of character in the TikTok matrix. It was still me, but it was an amplified version of me. And why did that happen? Well, because it worked. It got me likes, it got me engagement, and it got me followers. People wanted that larger-than-life storytelling and interesting content. And so I continued to shape my content to fit the algorithm, and in that way, the algorithm shaped me. Parts of my personality were still in my content, but a very enhanced part. And I didn't even realize that that was what was happening when I was making content. On social media now, this type of content isn't necessarily the type of content that would be doing very well. Now, the trends are more authentic content rather than this larger-than-life content that worked a few years ago. But that's the thing, the trends, they change really quickly, but so do the content creators. They are very, very good at adapting their content. And it might not be like this for every content creator, but for me, getting thousands of likes and comments and new followers every week became addicting. Opening my mobile phone and having thousands of people praise me, it definitely stimulated some sort of reward center in my brain. And when that's taken away, or when you get less likes than you expected, that feels very disappointing. And it might even feel really stressful. And adding the layer of earning money on all this as well, well, it's really easy to start chasing the likes. And then it's really easy to start adapting your content to whatever works. And that is an addiction. So how does this attention addiction affect how content creators make their content? Maybe the hunt for online recognition isn't that harmful. Maybe it just makes the content more energetic or colorful or creative. Maybe it's not a problem that I changed the tone of my voice or that I exaggerated my facial expressions. Maybe it's not a problem that I added elements of surprise or humor or did everything I could to get my message across in a way that stimulated the algorithm. But what if the algorithms push people to exaggerate their political views, or their personal beliefs, or their religious thoughts? What if you gain more followers by provoking a little, or by being controversial? What if the comment section explodes every time you offend someone? What if altering your own views give you more likes, or when lying gives you attention? How does it change us? What happens to public discourse when we have this reward system? We might get influenced by more extreme views, and we might get the impression that these views are the norm. The middle ground shrinks, and we might feel like we disagree with people much more than we in reality do. We all have our own feeds and our own individual understanding of what's going on. And our worldviews are in many ways shaped by what the algorithm chooses to show us on these platforms, and by who we choose to trust. Unlike editor-led media, where editors hopefully try to be balanced with what they present, the algorithms on social media are often tuned to just give us more of what we already like. So if I like football content, I might have a lot of football content in my feed. And if I like Andrew Tate, well, I might get a lot of his content in my feed. But I might never be exposed to alternative viewpoints or hear the other side of the story. That leads to echo chambers where people's viewpoints become more extreme. As an influencer, I experienced firsthand how easy it is to gain people's trust online. I was a 20-something-year-old living in a one-room apartment. I had no academic background, but I was making fact videos, and people trusted me. People followed me, and they became attached to me and my TikTok persona, and nobody was fact-checking what I was doing. Most of my followers were young. I had thousands of comments and hundreds of thousands of likes. I had many more teens viewing my content than many of the big Norwegian outlets had at the time, big Norwegian news outlets had at the time. And what I said, just as a private person, was often just accepted as the truth. That's a huge responsibility for one individual. And that's a responsibility that many content creators carry. So what happens to democracy when young people spend more time listening to influencers than to journalists and politicians? Who do we trust? And how does this shape our elections or our ability to collectively act during crisis? We can't rely on people getting important information from influencers who again rely on their content being spread by big private tech companies. We just don't know enough about how these algorithms work, and we might not notice when these algorithms change. It might feel like the content we see on these platforms is organic, but it's not. It's owned and it's controlled by big private tech companies. We noticed the changes when Twitter became X and when Elon Musk made some drastic alterations. But what if similar shifts happen gradually and over time on other platforms? How will we notice that we are being shaped by the content? How would we notice that when we're all already viewing different content? I ultimately made the conscious decision to leave the influencer world and to join a national news broadcaster, as I was, and I still am, concerned about what happens if trust in editor-led media declines. In my job in NRK now, we try to find ways to meet young people's needs online. They want a lot of the same as adults do. They want to know about wars, they want to know about politics, but they want it delivered in a different way, and they want it on different platforms. And my job in NRK now, as a journalist, is to make short-format explainer videos for young adults. Our target audience is people between the ages of 17 and 30. And me and my colleague Ole, we make videos every week explaining all sorts of various topics in the news or current events. We make videos about Gaza, about taxes, about elections, but also about dating and plastic surgery and other trending topics. When something big happens, we are quick and we get an explainer video out within hours. We want to make complex things easier for young people to understand. We want to be constructive and give them context, and we want to make it easy for them to follow the rest of the news covering. We publish videos mainly on our front page, nrk.no, but we also film them so that we can publish them on TV, on radio, and on social media. And when we publish videos on social media, our main goal is to let our target audience know that we exist. We have to accept that the media landscape has changed. The infinite flow of information is the new normal, whether we like it or not. And we still need to reach young people with safe and constructive and fact-based news. And they need to know and understand the difference between an influencer and editor-led media. And that's why we need to have two thoughts in our minds at the same time. Because even though there are good reasons to be aware of the shadow sides, we must not ignore the good sides of social media. People can speak out, build communities, stay connected, they can learn, and they can experience and express themselves in ways that were not possible before. This is especially important for many young people. And there is a lot of value in having the opportunity to share your views without having to go through editor-led media first. For many people, a TikTok video or a Snapchat story is their way of participating in democracy. And we must not underestimate how important that is. TikTok is an important news source for young people. And for many under 20, it is the most important news source. NRK, where I work now, has made the decision to start posting news stories on TikTok again. And even though I've spent most of my time here now talking about the negative sides of social media, I think that responsible figures posting news content on social media is the right decision to make when trying to reach the younger audience. TikTok is an open platform in Norway, used by a large number of young adults. Out of the different social media platforms, TikTok is the most important source of news for many young Norwegians. As long as they are on TikTok, we need to inform them, give them content they can trust, and we need to show them that we, an editor-led broadcaster, exists. We need to be aware and skeptical of how the social media algorithms work. But that does not mean that we must leave these platforms and leave the youth there on their own. We must offer trust, clarity and context in a chaotic media landscape.
Hi, my name is Ada. I'm a journalist in Feven Ung, which directly translates to Feven Young. Feven is a regional newspaper in the south of Norway, and in the fall 2023 they started the Young Project. Through this project, all high school students in our area gets access to our newspaper. They get their own digital subscription. And we're 3 journalists who work in the project full-time, and our job mainly consists of 2 things. One, we make targeted news, or news targeted towards young people. And 2, we visit the youth in their classrooms and tell them about journalism and what a journalist actually does. This project is a non-profit, and it's funded by local businesses and foundations who also believe that the students should have access to their local news. So why do we do it? I'm going to talk about how we do it, but first I just want to tell you a little bit about the background. As Katarina and Sølve has already said, young people don't relate to news in the same way as before. They navigate the landscape containing an overwhelming amount of information. And even though we're a local or regional newspaper, most young people didn't have a connection to us. They didn't know who we were or what we did. One thing, and they didn't engage in our debate columns. One thing is that they didn't write their own opinion pieces, but a lot of young people also didn't want to be interviewed, even in stories that were about things that were important to them. A lot of them said that they didn't want to be interviewed because they didn't know enough, and therefore Feven figured that they should have access to their local news. So that resulted in them gaining access. We're at 8 schools now, and all students in those schools have access to their own subscription. Do we do this because we believe that the day they wake up and they're finished with high school, they'll pay for their own subscription? No, but we want them to know that we exist and why we exist. And we want them to understand what journalism is. And then we hope that one day when they're 30, maybe they will be willing to pay for news. We don't believe that it's enough to just give them a subscription. Therefore, an important part of this project is that we, the journalists, we travel around to schools and talk to the students. We spend about half our time doing that. And then the other half we spent on making targeted journalism. On our news site, or on Feven's site, we have a dedicated section labeled Young, where we feature stories on topics that are important to them. This is a small section of both articles and opinion pieces. And as you can see, it's entirely young people who are front and center. Too often we think adults speak on issues that directly affect young people. And that's something we're trying to change. We want young people to carry the stories and be the main sources in matters that concern them. And if they don't speak up about the things that are closely tied to their own lives, we lose valuable perspectives. And it's also about taking them and their experiences and their everyday life seriously. This screenshot is taken in May, which is when the graduation celebration period in Norway is also known as russetid. And a lot of the stories that you see here are about that. It's a major celebration that lasts for several weeks, and if you include all the planning and fundraising, it lasts for years for a lot of them. So in May, this is one of the topics that we write the most about. For instance, we traveled to the biggest celebration festival associated with this celebration and reported from there. And for us, it's important to cover both the fun and joyful sides of the celebration. Down to the right there, you see one article that's about a group that won a prize at this festival. It's a feel-good piece, and one that might not have been written if we hadn't actively chosen to prioritize this kind of youth-focused content. There's another story there with 2 boys in the picture. The headline translates to "It clashes with exam prep, so many in the class sold their tickets." And this is also a story from that festival, but which captures the atmosphere there, but it also brings attention to an ongoing political issue in Norway, the timing of final exams during this celebration period. Creating articles is not enough, we think, so we spend a lot of time on social media and creating social media content. We aim to be a serious and credible source on the platforms that they spend the most time on. So almost all of the stories we also make for TikTok. And the youth recognize us from there. That's where they see us, and they get to know that we exist through seeing us on social media. This is an example of one of the article series that we have made. It's a project where we visited all the cafeterias in the different schools that our project is on. We tested the food and we spoke to the students. We made summaries of the prices and interviewed students and cafeteria staff. Each cafeteria visit got its own article as well as a social media post. And in the comments, the students really engaged. They asked, when are you coming to my school? And they discussed which school had the best cafeteria. And also when we're out on schools after the publishing of this, they ask us about it. They say, we saw you were there. Why haven't you been here? How was the food there? And they're engaging. It's not only about asking the youth to participate in the articles we normally write. An important part of this is to cover the topics that are important in their life. Every high school student in Kristiansand has some sort of relation to their cafeteria, and most of them are there every day. Then the other part of the project. One of the most valuable aspects of this project is the classroom visits. Teachers can book us to come and talk to the class about journalism. The introduction course mainly consists of 2 things. We talk about journalism, what a journalist actually does, and then we also talk about the importance of participating in the public debate. Many students don't know what a journalist is or what we do, so we come in to explain and teach them about source criticism, fact-checking, media ethics, and what our work actually consists of. The second part focuses on debate and the importance of participating in public discourse. We run exercises that help the students practice expressing themselves. One example is that everyone gets a table tennis racket with a green side and a red side. We present them with different statements that they show whether they agree or don't by showing the red side or the green side. The statements might be things like public transport is inadequate or all exams should be graded anonymously. In this way, everyone gets to express their opinion and take part in the shared exchange of views in the classroom without actually having to say anything. In some classes are very, very quiet, and then other classes can hardly stop discussing after we had this, after we do this. But even in the most quiet groups, we often find that doing this kind of exercise a few times help them feel confident enough to finally or eventually speak up, and the discussion starts after a little while. We also create custom programs when schools request them, for example, theme days or when students are working on a specific topic. One of the photos here, the one on the right, is the one on the left is from a theme day at a school this fall, focusing on fake news and the US election. We brought several other people from the office with us, including our political editor. This is something we do quite regularly. We bring other journalists in, so the whole office is involved in this project. For instance, we've taken crime reporters to classes studying law and sports journalists to sport classes to make the content more relevant for each group of students. And then the second photo there is from a visit to the newsroom. School classes can come by and see how we work and where we work and greet the journalists. So, a little bit about the results. So far in the project, we've met thousands of young people. A total of 3,380 students have created a user on FNNO, and the number of students that are on the schools that we are at is a little bit over 5,000. So that's quite a big part of them. We've had 170 of our introduction courses or class visits, in addition to many other sessions, including a debate training for more than 600 students. We've also published 150 opinion pieces from young writers. This is a photo of some of them. They cover a wide range of topics, but these are voices we might have never heard otherwise. Voices that offer different perspectives and raise issues that are often absent from traditional opinion sections. A lot of these posts is about, in one way or another, what it's like growing up today. Some of the headlines include, you were cool if you beat someone up, kids today aren't really kids, and remember that mom and dad aren't always right. Yeah. So, what's next? We don't have a stop date for this project. We continue for the next school year, and we plan to expand on more schools. We get very good feedback from both students and schools, teachers, and others, and we share our experiences with people who want to do the same. So now the project is spreading. Multiple other newspapers in Norway are starting up their own young project. Yeah.
Well, then we have some time for questions. If there is anyone who wants to take questions, the mic over there.
Hi. Okay. I read my question, but my English no is good. My question is from Katarina, specific. My name is Fiorella Ferrari. I am from Peru, and my organization Hiperderecho. We work to ensure that people can access information safely and friendly. They use technology, including digital media. Yes. TikTok is currently the platform with the greatest reach and go Peruvian young. In April next year in Peru, we'll hold presidential and congressional election. Yes. In this context, but the platform, the TikTok, and in this context, influencer, yes, we play a significant role the public debate, yes. But the Peruvian really it's quite different from the Norway, yes. But that's why I want the question specific. Do you have a specific strategy in place to prevent online violence? For why? Because you have your public face, yes. You're a woman, X positive in the platform. You have a strategy, but for the prevention violence in TikTok. This is the question. Sorry, my nose.
No, if I understand you correctly, you're asking, in a way, how I protect myself. Yes. Well, it's very different in Norway than than it sounds like it is in where you're from. But I do get when I was on TikTok, I did get death threats and hate comments and things like that. But for example, where I work now, I have people taking care of it if that happens. But the threat really isn't. It doesn't really exist in Norway. So I'm sorry, I don't have any good.
Don't worry.
Any good advice there? Yeah.
Yes.
But we can add that sometimes it's really good to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
So, for example, you always get those comments in the TikTok feed, and have someone else check it up, for example, so you don't feel the threat that close. Could you?
Yeah, and for me, I've contacted the police a couple of times if I've been worried about what sort of threat it is and if it's a real threat. And luckily, it hasn't been anything that's been dangerous for me. But we have systems that work very well to protect us. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you, and I apologize. I was late, so I missed the beginning. But I have 3 questions, and you don't have to get at all of them. I don't expect that, but I'm happy to learn about your work. I do kind of in the same line, sensibilization work in my context in Geneva. And I was wondering first if you encountered any differences as you go to different schools, different socioeconomic backgrounds, to the effectiveness of your work depending on those backgrounds. Something I find is usually the more richer schools, I have a much easier time doing this work, and the places where it's most needed, usually less effective. So any advice on that? Second, I was wondering, since we're here at the IGF, what do you tell to students who have no idea what it is and who do not even treat the internet as an object of political discussion and mostly treat it as entertainment? Do you have some, what do you tell these students? And I forgot my third question, but I'll stop there. Yeah. Thank you very much for your work.
Alda, maybe you can say something about different schools?
Yeah. I'm guessing it's not that big of a difference here as maybe other places when it comes to economics and those things. At least not in Kristiansand or in the south of Norway. But what we find is a good thing about being in the schools is that we also reach different kinds of youth. We reach the whole class, and it's which is students from all different backgrounds. So by being in the schools, we reach those that we probably wouldn't have reached with just giving them the subscription, for example. Yeah.
So we also find that something that's very important is to make content with people and not about people, especially when trying to reach different minorities.
Yes, and our project, which is seated in Oslo, we have to say that this difference between those who have much money and less money, but as they said already, you need to go to those different groups and talk with their language in the eye height. Is there another question over here? Or no? You have a question, yeah.
Hi. Hi. My name is Johnny Erlings. I'm from the Dutch Ministry of Justice. First of all, thank you for having one of the few panels with a clear, concise solutions to information integrity problems. So thank you for that. My question is, I'm really happy to hear that youth is still interested in hearing news, but they have to navigate through so much content. How do you prioritize with your fact-checking work, with your targeting young people to have them participate? How do you decide what kind of content to interact with, what kind of news to share with them?
Well, you will not reach everything. I see my time limits is coming close, but you have to see what's viral. That's often important, and you need to have contact with the young people. So that's maybe the baseline here. You need to talk with the young people, meet them, and hear what's important for them, because it's really easy for adults to tell what is important. We need to see what is important for them. Have you some?
Yeah, I agree. And we also need to think that there's so much information out there, and meeting that information with more information isn't necessarily what we should be doing. We should try to filter out what is actually important for them. But that's a challenge, trying to figure out what is important, but that's what we try to do, rather than just giving them more and more and more and more information all the time.
And that's the good part. Internet never forgets. So if you post something, it will still come back to you. But then we are out of time. Thank you. And please keep on the conversation. Thank you.